Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Sam and I like to talk about death and other weird stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. And today's video, I think you guys are really gonna like it. I know I say that about all my videos, but this one is pretty crazy and we're gonna jump right into it. So today I'm going to be telling you guys the true story about a middle-aged housewife in Massachusetts named Stella Lansing.
Records what appear to be images from another dimension.
We've all had strange things show up on our pictures. Glitches, scratches, strange patterns of light and shadow. Weird images are bound to show up every once in a while. But researchers in the field of paranormal photography believe some of these photos are actually a window to the supernatural. For 30 years, Stella Lansing has captured bizarre anomalies on film and videotape. Nearly every single time she takes a picture or shoots home movies, strange images appear. Here, a severed arm mysteriously floating in front of this woman's head. Strange facial lesions mark her own self-portrait. A mysterious monk appeared while she was taping a television special about Queen Elizabeth. There's a series of unique clock-like images that defy cinema and time logic, and were unheard of in the field of paranormal photography, until now.
And her incredible journey of the paranormal phenomenon that literally followed her and stalked her throughout her life. So Stella Lansing was a middle-aged housewife in Massachusetts, and one day in September of 1961, she noticed a bright hovering orb of light outside her house. That orb hovered at tree line level off in the distant sky before zooming closely to her, stopping in mid-air between her house and her neighbor's garage. That terrifying incident, although short, marked the beginning of Stella's incredible journey. During the Great Northeast Blackout of 1965, Stella was driving to deliver candles to a friend. When she was driving down Flint Street, she noticed a bright light overhead. It was the same orb that had visited her at her house 4 years earlier. However, this time it was traveling through the telephone wires down the road she was driving on. She was immediately confused and somewhat afraid, but soon realized a strange black car suddenly appeared on the highway. The car was a few feet ahead of Stella and appeared to be driven by the orb of light. The car then rolled off the highway, down a hill, and to a standstill. As Stella slowly drove past it, she got a sense that the occupants of the car were looking as the bright orb suddenly dipped below the telephone wires and into a nearby field. From there, Stella saw the light fly northwest before flaring up into the dark sky. She kept her car moving until she reached the safety of her friend's house. Now, I already know that we are off to a crazy start, but this gets even crazier, so just bear with me. So 2 years went by, and Stella continued to see strange orbs and lights in the sky that would sometimes follow her around. Her children were also experiencing strange events as well, and Stella mostly kept these strange sightings to herself, only telling close friends and family until the mid to late 60s. Still totally unaware of what these lights were and what they wanted, she couldn't even imagine the horrors that were soon to start visiting her. On Halloween night in 1966, Stella had a terrifying encounter with a strange and grotesque creature. That night, at around 7:20 p.m., she parked her car facing the water at a nearby lake. Just as she was about to shut her car off, she saw a head bobbing up and down in the dark, freezing water. Staring at it, she described it as wearing a black skull cap. Absolutely terrified, she threw her car in reverse and took off. In the panic of things, she managed to see that the humanoid-looking thing had crawled its way onto the shore and began running towards a peninsula that was about 60 meters away from her house. As Stella tried to position her car to shine her lights on this thing to get a better look at it, she saw this creature scurry away into a basketball-sized orange ball of light, surrounded by a fuzzy mist. The hair on the back of her neck stood on end as light glowed dimly. And then, without warning, a large, brighter orb of light suddenly swooped down behind her house and then flew across the water. This was also seen by Stella's teenage neighbors. Okay, so by now we all know that there's some really weird shit going on, and it seems to be following Stella, like specifically. So she decided that she was going to get herself a silent 8mm film camera.
Probably didn't realize that it was any kind of a gift or anything in the beginning. I was just trying to get proof of what I was seeing. I tried with every kind of camera I had, And as this went along, I asked someone if only I had a movie camera, and they let me borrow theirs, and that's when I started to get my very first nighttime sighting.
She had already been photographing the strange lights that haunted her. However, with this 8mm film camera, she began capturing strange images that seemed to be from somewhere else in space and time. Ominous images of blurred figures and structures not seen by Stella's naked eye or those of any witnesses. So, on the night of February 18th, 1967, Stella was driving down Route 32 when she saw another orb of yellow light. She stopped her car and got out to look, noticing that another car had also stopped to witness this odd light. She ran over to them and asked them if they saw it too, to which the man said yes. So Stella rushed home to grab her 8mm camera and then rushed right back. When she arrived back with her camera, she managed to catch a very elaborate light show, where these orbs of light were seemingly bouncing off one another between telephone wires. The orbs continued to do this little dance long enough for her to catch it on film, but then vanished almost as fast as it began. Immediately after that, another bluish color orb appeared off in the distance and slowly made its way towards Stella before stopping and also disappearing, all while Stella kept that camera rolling. So it took Stella some time and effort to find a projector to show her film. She eventually brought it to a lab in Springfield, Massachusetts, where she learned that her 25-foot film segment was incorrectly spliced. Out of the 50 feet of film loaded onto the camera, the last 25 feet were her jeweler's friend's daughter and her fiancé in an outdoor setting. However, the first 25 feet of film did contain Stella's recording of the lights. In April of 1968, she finally got herself a Bell & Howell projector. This new piece of technology allowed her to slow her footage down to 2 frames per second, revealing unnerving images that she didn't see before. The bright object she filmed on that desolate road in 1967 contained a few frames of the heads and torsos of strangers. Strange men in what Stella believed to be a craft of some kind. Stella actually said, "I never saw the people when filming it. I can't tell you what object they came out of or when they were in it. The only thing I could think of is that they must have come from that soft white object that was hovering over me while I was filming." So by the late 1960s, with the support of her husband and family, Stella continued her research into the phenomenon that was becoming more and more mysterious and unnerving. By 1970, she had already been taking photographs that contained strange lights or structures superimposed onto them. A mysterious clock-like pattern also began to appear on her films and photographs. Strangely enough, the geometric patterns appear on the film itself, overlapping the frames on the footage. So even though Stella had amazing footage, she still couldn't find a researcher to take her seriously until she found herself barging into a UFO conference and told her story to Dr. Berthold Erich Schwartz. He already had quite a following in the UFO community by the time he met her. He was a psychiatrist with a keen interest in spirituality, ufology, and the paranormal. Stella was introduced to Dr. Schwartz after the meeting, and he did have his doubts about her stories until she told him that she brought her proof with her. Staying after the conference, he agreed to examine her footage, after which he performed numerous medical tests on Stella to make sure that she didn't have any mental illness or any kind of, issues or anything. All of which she passed with flying colors. However, Stella confided with Dr. Schwartz and told him that she ended up being committed in 1967, and while she was at the mental hospital, she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, who suffered from hallucinations about seeing UFO crafts. Although not overly religious, Stella spoke of strange communications that she was receiving telepathically about supposed UFO-related communications from Beelzebub, the devil himself. Stella stayed at the hospital for 10 days before checking herself out. Not even a month later, she was back at the hospital, this time checking in for a total of 5 weeks. She completed treatment and was released on the basis that she had no further recurrences. However, it wasn't the end for Stella. She began seeing lights again, and luckily this time, Dr. Schwartz was there to witness some of these instances. He began going through the spools of film that she had. Coming across a peculiar self-portrait of Stella, the next frame was another portrait of Stella, this time with seemingly invisible lesions growing on her face. also coming across images of strange structures, strange lights, and a group of mysterious humanoid-looking creatures she called the occupants. On the night of April 15, 1971, Dr. Schwartz, Stella, and one of her friends all drove down to a spot in Massachusetts where Stella claimed to have a lot of encounters. The trio drove to a secluded area, killed the engine and the headlights, and stepped out of the car and into the silent, still night. Within minutes, 2 yellowish glowing discs were up in the sky. The objects appeared to glide silently alongside each other, oftentimes merging into themselves before splitting up again. They watched the lights uninterrupted for quite some time. As the three observed the lights, they were completely unaware of an approaching black car that had its headlights off. The car stopped about 100 feet from where the three stood. It suddenly blasted its bright headlight beams in their direction. Dr. Schwartz wrote about the unnerving encounter and said that basically the headlights were alternating from left to right, illuminating the darkness in an eerie flickering reminiscent of semaphore signals. Stella's friend panicked and insisted that they all get back into their car, so they did. But Dr. Schwartz took pictures of the incident from inside the car, as well as Stella's 8mm camera recording the whole time. As orbs of orange and pink light were raving around this black car, the car suddenly started to speed past the three of them at great speed. And the headlights were so bright they couldn't tell if anyone was even in the car as it passed by them. According to famous researcher John Keel, this is a typical Men in Black moment. So by this point, I think we can all agree that Stella is not making this shit up. She's not crazy. She's not imagining it. She's caught things on different film, not just her 8mm camera. There have been other witnesses there who have seen the same thing that she saw, and those who didn't believe her couldn't explain how she could have faked the camera footage. This was the 60s. It would have taken a whole production team to create the splicing and reattaching of film necessary to pull this off. There was no way she could have done it. So obviously, some crazy shit was going on. It wasn't until 1991 that the television show Sightings got a hold of Stella and Dr. Schwartz and ran a lengthy and detailed segment on the phenomenon. During the show's investigation, they exported Stella's silent 8mm film of the occupants onto VHS. When they did this, the investigators were shocked when they heard undistinguishable voices from the film.
Stella's footage was shot on silent 8mm film. However, when experts transferred the silent film over to videotape to analyze, suddenly strange unexplained voices appeared on their tapes.
This is a silent film, and they got voices off of it. Like, what? I wish, man, that's fucking awesome. It was clear that the strange phenomenon that had been following Stella for over 3 decades had been partially captured on different mediums. Stella continued to jot down notes and dates every time she had an unnerving experience, a curiosity turned obsession. But Stella Lansing passed away in 2012, never knowing the truth behind her haunting phenomenon. Alright guys, that's the end of my video for today. I'm sorry if it seemed a bit rushed. The sun was going down, I lost all my light, so sorry it's pretty dark in here. But if you like this video, please hit the like button and feel free to leave a comment. You know, this is a pretty interesting story, so I don't know, I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to do some more research about it. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great night. See you next time.